Hey everyone, this is Mike Andes, and you're listening to the Business Bootcamp podcast. Today I'm going to jump into something we haven't done for a while, and then take a live question that is submitted from businessbootcamppodcast.com. If you go there, there is a little tool when you go to the contact page that it's called a speak pipe, and you are able to actually record your voice asking a question, and I have a whole bunch of those that I respond to, but this one I figure I should, just throw one of these in here. So I want to take this one because I had a couple other emails concerning name your company and about how you should diversify and expand a business into other services that you're not currently offering. So we're going to jump into that, but big thank you to today's sponsor, which is cashflowtool.com. I actually have got their software and I've checked out some really cool stuff. And one of the things I really like about it is that you can allow other users access to the cash flow tool. And what that allows them to do is see exactly how it gives you how many days of cash flow you have. So basically it says, hey, you have so many days of cash in the bank that will keep your business afloat based upon all the history of your past expenses. You might have 15, 20, 30 days of cash in the bank. You might have a year's worth of cash in the bank. And it really allows you to know how to forecast and make sure you get through those low times. If you have a slow winter or really busy time of the year, you know exactly how many days you have to get to make sure you don't go cash flow dry and really don't go into negative. And so what's really cool though is you can allow other users access to the tool and then actually communicate. So on the activity feed of all your different transactions that are coming in. So number one, this is a great way to keep track of your expenses. But then what's great about this tool is it allows you to collaborate with different users and talk about the different transactions, to discuss the cash flow projections and where you're at with your company. So if you have someone in the office and then you might have an accountant, you might be looking at yourself, but you can all collaborate and actually have a live chat based upon certain things like your sales targets and different transactions that are happening, making sure that didn't overpay or there wasn't double charges, things like that, and then being able to really collaborate on your cash flow calendar and where you're going to be needing cash in the future. So I highly recommend going to cashflowtool.com/bootcamp. I've had some questions. It is an integration with QuickBooks. So if you have QuickBooks, it's a tool that you can use. If not, it might not be for you. However, if you do have QuickBooks, highly recommend you check this out, cashflowtool.com/bootcamp, and you're going to get a free trial as well as a discount on their monthly charge once you subscribe to their service. So check it out today, cashflowtool.com/bootcamp. Now, today won't be a long episode, but I wanted to talk about something that very simple, might seem a little bit overly simple for some that have listened to the podcast for a long time. But let's go ahead and just roll this question. It's from Andrew from Ontario, Canada, young man that has started a business and is wondering how to diversify, how to grow, how to scale his business, and seeing how that relates to the name of his company as he's just starting out. This is a must listen for anyone that wants to start a service-based business, is wondering about what they should name it. This is definitely a good question for you. So let's go ahead and roll this one. This is Andrew from Ontario, Canada. Here we go.
Hey Mike, my name's Andrew. I'm 21 years old from Canada, Ontario. I'm just starting out a business. Currently we offer gutter cleaning, and I'm in a situation of kind of how to position my name. So right now I started with AR gutters, but now I changed it to more of like a bigger target audience so that I could do like T-based services or something like that, where I can target more services. Because eventually I do want to move from gutters and then into like you're doing in the winter, snow plowing, and potentially down the road roofing and floor installing. We're going to get floor installing going soon. But I was just wondering, I'm super confused on like if I should target that kind of atmosphere, if that's like a safe way to go where I can do multiple services at the same time, or like should I really just focus on one? You know what I mean?
So first of all, thank you, Andrew, for submitting your question. If you have a question you'd like to submit that via audio and possibly get on the show, just go to businessbootcamppodcast.com, go to the contact page, and leave that audio clip via the speak pipe little tool there. So let's go ahead and dive right into this. I have a few different things I wanted to share. And again, this is more for someone that's wanting to start their business, hasn't named their company, is wanting to start. When we talk about start, grow, save your business, definitely for someone that's wanting to start a business. So first of all, Andrew had a question as far as should he just focus on one thing, or can he focus on these like, multiple services? So number one, he's doing gutters right now. The company's called AR Gutters. He's thinking about changing it to T-base services and offering things like snow plowing, roofing, floor installing, etc. And so the big question here is, what are you going to be doing? Should you be doing all these services, or should you focus on one? So in a nutshell, and this is pretty broad, a broad opinion and broad advice I'm going to give, but it almost always holds true. And that is, I can almost say this, like usually I would say I would need some more context as far as your experience or something like that. But this is the type of advice that I can almost give blanket advice to and know it's going to hit the target. And that is focus on one of these things. The reason I can say that is, number one, your age. Number two, you haven't even started the company. Well, you haven't even started doing the other services yet. And I would recommend going back and listening to the episode about having a ton of fuel but no engines. When you're first starting your business, focus on getting started and getting traction on one thing. So if you are wanting to start a company, you can, go back and listen to the episode on having fuel but no engines. In other words, having a bunch of ideas, a bunch of things that you want to do, a bunch of things that you want to accomplish, and all the achievements that you think you can have, and all the services you can offer, and the ways you can do it. All the fuel, all the dynamics, but having no motor mechanics, no driver, no engine to throw that fuel into. And that's what I find a lot of entrepreneurs have. They have all the inspiration, they have all the dedication, they have all the inspiring quotes and the nice hashtags, and then they have the dreams, and they've written down their goals 1,000 times, and they know exactly how they're going to do something, and yet they have no engine to throw that fuel into, and thereby they get nowhere. And so what I'd focus on doing, Andrew, is starting the engine. I'd get it started. If you're doing gutters right now, I'd focus on gutters. I'd make sure you have completely monopolized your demographic on gutters before you start getting into things like snow plowing, roofing, or floor installing. The reason for this is multiple. Number one, I'm going to go from a higher level view and say that you've got to focus. The reason is because if you get into snow plowing, there are going to be contractors that have snow plowed and have only snow plowed for many, many years. You're going to be competing against people who have years of experience, that have done it for a long time, know exactly how to price things out. They are very efficient. They have all the equipment. They've paid it off. You're going to be competing against them. But at the same time, you're also going to be trying to compete with all these roofing companies that have also been around for many years, have developed a client base, have marketed their services, have developed relationships with contractors, and now you're wanting to get started in roofing. These are all completely separate businesses. I know they're all home improvement, but I would guarantee you that your success will be much more definite, maybe not as rapid, but much more guaranteed if you focus on one and build the strong pillar in which you can then use the experience you have in that business to then go do something else in a different industry. So I would highly, highly recommend someone in your position, Andrew, anyone that was wanting to start a business, to focus on one thing. That being said, I'll talk a little bit about how you name your business if you think you're going to get into other services. But the reason behind, from a financial standpoint, beyond just focusing and it's very hard to compete in those multiple different industries when you have no experience. And that's one thing, because it's very hard to cross market between snow plowing and roofing. So it's very hard to say that you have a lot of crossover there. And so what I mean by that is you're going to be marketing to different people. For roofing, you're going to be trying to get becoming a subcontractor, contractor. So you're going to be going to more B2B, or you might be going to the residential user, which needs their roof done every 20 years. Whereas snow plowing, you're going to be dealing with property managers and landowners that own commercial apartments or strip malls. Completely different demographics, completely different people that you're going to have to market to. And so there's really not very much overlap. There's no advantage of having one corporation or company to oversee them. And so I would highly recommend anyone that wants to do businesses that are completely different markets, see if there's enough crossover in your target demographic to justify keeping it under one corporation. Because if you're doing AR gutters, maybe if you want to go into snow plowing down the road, maybe you should call it AR snow plowing. And so I really think there's two different ways of looking at branding when you're looking at a company. When you're starting talking about different services, number one is doing kind of what I did with Augusta. So I did Augusta lawn care services, but then we did Augusta cleaning services, and you could always add other things: Augusta tree services, you could do Augusta landscaping services, you could do Augusta turf services, you could do a bunch of Augusta whatever. And that could just carry on to whatever. If you were like, well, I want to do taxes for people. Okay, let's call it Augusta Tax Services. And so I already own the URL Augusta Services. I own other URLs, but I don't have any ambition to make it anything more than a landscaping and lawn care company. But that's one way to do it. And we did that when we first started out. Had a cleaning company, and we just changed the color of the logo from green to blue. And it just said Augusta, exact same font, exact everything. Just the only difference was the name went from lawn care services to cleaning services, and then we changed from green to blue as far as coloring. That's one way to do it if you want to go into different services. Another way to do that is just call your brand, kind of like what Andrew was saying, T-based services. Call it something generic, and then just have a whole bunch of services that you offer that are miscellaneous. The problem with that in the service industry is it's more difficult to break into a market using that kind of a naming strategy, because it's not apparent when people say your name what you're about. So when people say Augusta Lawn Care Services, that's the name of our company, they know that we do lawn care services. If someone said T-based services, or they say let's say they just said Augusta Services, they don't know exactly what type of services you offer. So it takes a little more brand awareness, a little more education to make sure they know what service you actually offer. But that's the second way to do things is, call it Augusta Services, and then have multiple different types of, have your snow clearing and your roofing and your floor installing underneath that entity name, all underneath that one, T-based services or whatever you call it. So those are two different ways as far as a branding standpoint, but I'd really recommend you looking very closely and asking yourself, is there enough overlap in your customer demographic to justify having one corporation name be the entity that holds all of the resources and assets and the different sectors of that company? And so that's one thing. And the other thing I would say is, from a financial standpoint, the reason I would always say to focus on one of these services is what I call it's just a term, asset utilization. As asset utilization goes down, let me take it back. As diversification goes up, asset utilization goes down. What I mean by that is, as you diversify and you start getting different types of services, your asset utilization usually goes down. So let me break that down a little bit. So diversification, that's, as you get diversified into different services, different types of products that you might be selling, whatever you're doing, you start getting involved in different industries. As your diversification goes up, your asset utilization goes down. What I mean by that is, when you are doing gutters, snow plowing, roofing, floor install, all these different things, For flooring, you're going to need a certain amount of tools and trucks and a certain amount of equipment and assets that you have to buy in order to get started in that business. For roofing, you're going to need certain type of equipment. You're going to need to have like a truck with a scissor lift on it that will allow you to throw debris in it. You have dump truck and things like that. For snow plowing, you're going to need a big truck with a plow and a salter, and you're going to need to get insured for that and all that good stuff. For gutters, you're going to need to have equipment and ladders and scissor lifts or whatever you're using to get up there, and you're going to have to train those people to do that. So as you get assets, these trucks, these plows, the equipment that's needed for roofing and the plow and everything from dump trucks to the nail guns that you need for the roof and to the hammers, as you get all of this equipment and assets, there's a massive amount of assets you need to get involved in all of the different services. So as you begin to diversify, now that snow plowing equipment sits idle for 5 and 6 months out of the year when it's summer and there's no snow on the ground. While in that same time, you say, well, I'm really busy. I'm doing roofing and I'm doing flooring installing because it's spring and it's summer. Great. But realize that now your assets, that big truck and the plow and the salter that you paid $50,000 for, is now sitting in your yard and you're not using it. So when I say asset utilization, it's how much are you utilizing the assets and how efficient are you with making sure that you use the assets you have. So what I mean by that is, do we as a landscaping company need 20 trucks, or can we make do with the 10 that we have and make sure that we're more efficient, that we're using, like, this is why factories have shift work and they have people that work around the clock, because in three different shifts, because instead of creating a second factory, they just get someone, they have another shift of night crew to come on and use the asset of the factory longer, and then you allow the variable cost of labor to be the difference maker, instead of having a completely new factory in order to have everyone work during the day, if that makes sense. So what I mean by that is, how do you use your assets within all these companies, and is there enough overlap? Is there enough synchronization? Is there enough really them becoming together, these services, to use that same snow plowing truck in the roofing company, and in the floor installing company, and in the gutter company? Because the assets and all, not just the truck, but then you got the tools and the equipment and the safety protocol and different assets you have to buy for that. And then how does that, the trailers and the storage of all that equipment. And now all of a sudden you start using assets for a few months out of the year, or maybe 10 or 20% of the time they're being used, and the other 80% they're doing absolutely nothing. And that is a waste of asset utilization. So as you diversify, many times, not all the time, if you get really efficient and you have a big company, you can usually eliminate this. But for small businesses, usually as you diversify and get into different services, your asset utilization goes down, which means you're going to have sitting equipment, you're going to have tools, you're going to have people, you're going to have of different types of computers, whatever industry you're in, that's sitting and not doing as much during certain times of the year, especially in the home improvement and home services industry. As you diversify, the assets that you buy are not going to be utilized to their greatest maximum efficiency. Now, as you grow and you scale your company, you get 50, 60 employees, and you can have different divisions where, okay, these 10 people are only focused on snow plowing. These are their trucks, these are their equipment, and they are going to focus on making sure that they maximize the utilization out of those assets. And then you have the roofing crew, and then you have a gutter crew, and then they all are independently focused on trying to maximize efficiency within their sector. But then the question becomes, why do they have to be all tied back to one company name? Is there enough crossover between the industries, between the services they're offering, in order for them to, number one, utilize the assets between the two, within the organization, and two, to use the marketing power within the divisions to market to the same client? So for instance, when we did Augusta Cleaning Services, we were doing it because all our landscaping customers were the exact same target demographic as someone that would need a janitor, or would need a housemaid, or would need someone to be cleaning their house, or the property managers we were marketing to for the landscaping contract were the same property managers that were looking for internal, inside interior cleaning. And so there was a big overlap. All our existing customers were the exact same customers we would have if we went to that service. So for instance, if I was talking to you, Andrew, I would say, change the name to whatever you want, as far as making sure it aligns with your long-term goal of the company. If you want to do all these services down the road, 10, 15 years, you want to be doing snow plowing and roofing and flooring, installing and gutters, and you want to have 50 employees, then maybe T-based services is good for you. If you want to focus on one thing narrowly and get really, really good at it, AR gutters might work, and then later down the road you start AR something else, AR snow plowing or AR roofing. Now this is what I would say to you, and that is, if you're going to do AR gutters and focus on gutters only, the next natural progression should be roofing. It should not be snow plowing, and it should not be flooring install, because when you're doing gutters, you are almost always doing it very close after the roof installers. So think about it. If you can have a company that is going to put your roof on, if they can also do your gutters, that gives you as the contractor a unique selling proposition to the contractor that's building that house. Say, hey, you don't have to go out and get 2 subs. Just hire us, and we'll do the roof and we'll do the gutters. And now you're beginning to create value for the customer by bringing these 2 services together. And that is what you have to focus on when you start thinking about growing your company, diversifying, getting into different sectors, getting into different industries, adding services, is, are you serving the customer more? Because if you're not, and if it's confusing the customer and they don't know what type of services you're offering, it's only going to lead to your demise, and it will only tear down the services that you currently offer when you start adding new ones. You'd rather be a master of one instead of a jack of all trades when it comes to these services. You'd rather start with the gutters, in my opinion, Andrew, and then get really good at it, and then add roofing and start working on that, training those same guys that you've trained. Maybe 10, 15 guys you start hiring for these gutters. You got multiple crews going out. Okay, now we're going to start offering roofing. Maybe you hire in someone that has roofing experience to make sure that goes smoothly. And then start offering all the contractors that you already have relationships with gutters and say, hey, we've done your gutters for 5 years. We've done a great job. You love our, your grid pricing, everything. Great. Okay, guess what? We are now offering roofing services. So now you can have the same top quality, great prices, great staff, great level of professionalism on your roofing that you always wanted, that you can't find a good sub doing roofing. We can do it for you, and we can now do everything faster. You don't have to manage 2 different companies, and you can just sub to us, and we can do the roof, and we can do the gutters. Oh, and by the way, when you're doing gutters on someone's house, now you can check their roof and say, you know what, you need to have this repair in your roof, or you need to have your roof replaced, and now you're able to upsell. There's more symbiotic relationship between roof and gutters, which allows there to be more crossover between customers. So the customer that is getting new gutters is also a potential customer for repairing or replacing a roof. The customer that is getting their roof replaced or getting it repaired is great prospect to get new gutters, or to get their downspouts replaced, or to get covers for their gutters. There's so many different ways that these 2 different type of services can cross-pollinate. So as you grow your business, as you add services and get into new markets and you begin to diversify, yes, you should focus. But the thing is, if you're going to grow, if you're going to scale, if you're going to add services, make sure there's a symbiotic relationship and they can cross-pollinate between each other from the customer standpoint, and the assets that you have within the company can go between the different organizations, between the different services, and can really allow you to have a unique selling proposition and a unique advantage over your competitors, because you already have all the relationships for the gutter guys. You already have the relationship with the contractors. You already have great relationships with all of your customers that you clean their gutters out. Like, those are valuable relationships that then you can then have a very great runway when you start a quote-unquote roofing company within the organization. So think about that. As diversification goes up, asset utilization goes down. I'd assure any 21-year-old out there that hasn't started a business and is wanting to get started, focus on one thing first. Dominate it, and then start looking for number 2. Focus on the pillar of your business. Focus on the thing that's going to get really good, going to get thick. It's going to, the stream that in that income stream is going to get thick and healthy, and then start focusing on adding a second stream, adding multiple flows, as it were, to that stream, multiple flows of income through different services. And I promise you, it will lead to a much healthier company and organization and culture that isn't segmented, that isn't so broken up. Focus on one thing. That's why we ended up selling the contracts for Augusta cleaning services, because I was like, hey, we're too early in this. Let's dominate the landscaping thing and focus on one thing. Now we're adding turf and artificial turf and putting greens. But guess what? It's a very symbiotic relation to our brand and to all the customers that we currently serve. We're going to send out a mailer to our existing client base of thousands of different customers that we have for landscaping, and we're going to tell them about this new service that we offer. And guess what? A lot of them are going to be existing. They have need of that service, and so we get a great unique prop. We get a great runway to starting the turf and putting greens and installing those things. So I'd encourage you to think about that if you're wanting to grow and you're wanting to scale. You've been listening to the Business Bootcamp podcast. I'm Mike Andes. Until next time, be great, because nothing else pays.